जू की जय। श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन जू की जय। नित्य विष्णु विष्णुपाद अश्वतर शिष्यमार भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोस्वामी महाराज श्री गुरुदेव की जय। नित्य विष्णु विष्णुपाद अश्वतर शिष्यमार भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नित्य विष्णु विष्णुपाद अश्वतर शिष्यमार भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। नित्य विष्णु विष्णुपाद अश्वतर शतमार भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नित्य विष्णु विष्णुपाद अश्वतर शतमार भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय। नित्य विष्णु महाभागवत श्री गोरक्षोर बाबूजी महाराज की जय। नित्य विश्व श्री सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। नित्य विष्णु वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबूजी महाराज की जय। श्री रूपानुगौर्य गुरु वर्ग की जय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ शारद गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गौर पार्षद वृंद की जय। नाम श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदाते गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जय। श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री पूर्णमासी योग माया की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। 11th Canto की जय। जय श्रीवास ठाकुर की जय। श्रीवास पंडित की जय। तदीय शुभ आविर्भाव तिथि की जय। स्वापार्षद श्री गौर हरि की जय। श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। Dandavat pranams Ganga Mataji and Madhavi Didi. Hari Bol to both of you. And Rukmini Didi. Hari Bol. So we'll begin Mangalacharan and then Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayanitti Namine. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminitti Namine. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo mahavadanyaya Krishna prema pradayate Krishnaya Krishna chaitanya namne gauratvishe namaha. Gurave Gaurachandraya Adhikaya Itadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yang Pravrajantamanupeta Krityam Dvaipayano Virahaka Tara Ajuhava Putreti Tanmayataya Taravo Bhinedu Sangsarva Bhutta Hridayam Munimanatosmi. Narayanam namaskritya narang chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye. Shrinvatang swakata Krishna punya shravana kirtana hridantasto Yabhadrani vidhunoti suritsatam Nashta prayeshvavadreshu nityang bhagavata sevaya Bhagavatyuttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki Tavai vasmi na jivami tvaya vina Iti vigyaya radhe tvam nayamang charanantikam Bhaktya vihina aparadha lakshay Kshiptashtakama ditaranga madhe Kripa mai tvam sharanam prapanna Vrinde namaste charanaravindam Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Hari Bol Sudevi Didi Inditaji Prajumna Prabhu and Mantramurti Mataji. Yes, Prajumna Prabhu, all is well here. Alright, so I just downloaded two new books yesterday. I downloaded the 11th Canto and also Sri Caitanya and his associates. On this Gaur Purnima day, it was finally made into a Kindle book. So now you don't need to, now I can share the screen when I read from here. So I wonder what we should do first. Should we read about Śrīvāsa Pandit first or read from Śrīmad Bhagavatam? Begin the Śrīmad Bhagavatam. Maybe let's begin Śrīmad Bhagavatam because then afterwards we can read more about Śrīvāsa Pandit, more than just what's here. So yeah, I'm gonna go here. I thought today was a good day to commence Śrīmad Bhagavatam though. Or actually maybe it's more auspicious to read about Śrīvāsa Pandit and then with his blessings we can move on. Okay, yeah, let's do it like that. Alright. Hari Bol Bhavatarani Mataji and Hari Prabhu. Okay, so this is Srila Bhakti Ballabha Tīrtha Gosvāmī Mahārāja. His book Sri Caitanya and his associates. And if anybody wants to get this, it's now available in Kindle format. Śrīvāsa Pandito Dhiman Yapura Narada Muni Parvatakyo Muni Varo Ya Asin Narada Priya Shri Rama Pandita Shriman Tad Kanishta Sahodara Nam Bika Vraje Dhatri Stanya Dhatri Stita Pura Saiveyam Namni Śrīvāsa Grihini Mata. Narad Muni in Krishna's Leela has become Śrīvāsa Pandit in Gaur Leela. Narad Muni's friend Parvata Muni appeared as Śrīvāsa Pandit's younger brother Sri Rama Pandit. Śrīvāsa Pandit's wife, Malini Devi, is Ambika, Krishna's wet nurse in Vraj. That's from Gaur Ganadashtipika, verse 90. The Pancha Tattva. Pancha Tattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Sarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. I pay obeisances to the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, who has appeared in 5 aspects: as a devotee, as the expansion of a devotee, as the avatar of a devotee, as a pure devotee, and as the devotional energy. That's Chaitanya Charitamrita 1.1.14. The supremely potent is revealed in 5 different manifestations according to his desire to experience 5 different pastimes. Ontologically, there is no difference between them. They are one truth expressed according to 5 dispositions. Thus, Shri Gauranga, Shri Nityananda Prabhu, Shri Advaita Acharya, Shri Gadadhar Pandit, and Śrīvāsa Pandit and the other devotees are ontologically non-different from one another. Nevertheless, that truth is manifest as a devotee, Bhakta Rup, the expansion of a devotee, Bhakta Swarup, the avatar of a devotee, Bhakta Avatar, the energy of a devotee, Bhakta Shakti, and the pure devotee, Bhaktakya, according to the desire to relish different tastes of divine relationship. Of these 5 truths, the Supreme Lord himself, the son of Nanda, takes on the devotional mood to become Bhakta Rup. His full expansion, his Swayam Prakash, Balaram, takes on the devotional mood and appears as Bhakta Swarup, Nityananda Prabhu. Mahavishnu takes on the devotional mood and appears as Bhakta Avatar, Advaita Acharya. These 3 are Vishnu Tattva. The devotional energy, Bhakta Shakti, and the pure devotee, Shuddha Bhakta, are classified as energies of Vishnu Tattva. They are the energies of Vishnu Tattva, which are considered non-different because of their dependent relationship. The principal devotional energies are Gadadhar Pandit, Sarup Damodar Gosvāmī, and Ramananda Rai. And the pure devotees include Śrīvāsa Pandit and others who are in the moods of friendship or servitude. Śrīvāsa Pandit is thus a member of the Pancha Tattva. Śrīvāsa Pandit's origins. Śrīvāsa Pandit hailed from Sylhet. He later came to live in Navadvip, where he became instrumental in enhancing the Gauranga Lila. From the Caitanya Bhagavat and Caitanya Charitamrita, we learn that Śrīvāsa and his 3 brothers, Sri Ram Pandit, Sri Pati Pandit, and Sri Kanta or Srinidhi Pandit, they were all participants in Mahaprabhu's Leela. Gaudiya Vaishnava Abhidan cites Prem Vilas as saying that Śrīvāsa Pandit's father was a Vedic Brahman of the name Sri Jaladhar Pandit. Śrīvāsa Pandit was the second of 5 sons. The eldest son, named Sri Nalina Pandit, had a daughter named Narayani Devi, who is the mother of the author of Chaitanya Bhagavat, Vrindavan Das Thakur. Narayani Devi's husband, Vaikuntha Das Vipra, died while she was pregnant with Vrindavan Das, so she left her husband's house in Kumar Hut in Hali Shahar and came to live with Śrīvāsa Pandit in Navadvip. Śrīvāsa Pandit and Nimai Pandit. During his student life, Nimai would engage Gadadhar, Mukunda, and other devotees in debate, first defeating all their arguments and then showing how they could have been defeated. The devotees were astonished at his prowess, but thought that his learning would bear fruit only if he became a devotee of Krishna. Nimai would pay obeisances to devotees such as Śrīvāsa Pandit whenever he saw them, and they in turn would bless him, saying, "May you have devotion to Krishna." One day, Śrīvāsa Pandit was out walking when he encountered Nimai on the street. He said, "People study in order to become devotees of Krishna. What is the use of all their studies if they don't become devotees? Don't waste your time. Start worshipping Krishna as soon as possible." Mahaprabhu felt great joy upon hearing such words from the mouth of his own devotee and answered, You are a devotee. By your mercy, I will surely have devotion for Krishna some day." Even though they could not help but be attracted to Nimai, the devotees were unable to recognize him as their own worshipable Lord due to the influence of his Yogamaya Lila Shakti. This is a most astonishing and attractive pastime. Nimai becomes a devotee. When Mahaprabhu returned from Gaya, he began to display all the symptoms of one who is intoxicated with love of God. Shachimata became terrified, thinking that her son had gone mad. When Śrīvāsa Pandit came to see Mahaprabhu, he said, "Everyone thinks that I have gone crazy. What do you think has happened to me?" Śrīvāsa Pandit laughed and answered, "Your madness is good madness. I want the same for myself. I see the signs of ecstatic love for Krishna in your body. Lord Krishna is very merciful to you." A relieved Mahaprabhu embraced Śrīvāsa Pandit and said, "If you too had said that I was going mad, I would have drowned myself in the Ganges." That's from Chaitanya Bhagavat Adi Khanda 2, 113 to 137. Sorry, 113 to 117. When Mahaprabhu instituted the loud chanting of the holy names in his own house and in that of Śrīvāsa Pandit, all the atheistic neighbors began to complain that they were losing sleep because of the noise. They looked for ways to counter the movement and even started false rumors that the king would soon come to punish the devotees. The naive Śrīvāsa Pandit believed these stories and was filled with anxiety. He began to worship Nrsingadev for protection. Understanding that Śrīvāsa Pandit was afraid, the Lord, who takes away the distress of his devotees, went to his house. He kicked open the door and said, "Who are you worshipping? Who are you meditating on? Behold, he whom you are worshipping is standing before you. I will save the righteous and destroy the wicked. You should worry no longer." So saying, he sat down in the heroic posture, the Virasana, and revealed the divine form of Lord Nrsimha holding the conch, discus, club, and lotus. When Śrīvāsa Pandit saw this extraordinary manifestation of the Lord, he was overcome with feelings of love and began to recite hymns of praise. Mahaprabhu was pleased with Śrīvāsa Pandit's recital and told him to call his wife and family members to see his divine form. He gave his prasad to Narayani Devi and showed his mercy to her by making her utter the holy name. Just as the devotee is dear to the Lord is also dear to his devotee. Nityananda Prabhu's Vyas Puja. When Nityananda Prabhu came to Navadvip, Mahaprabhu knew that he was staying at Nandan Acharya's house, and so he went there in the company of the devotees. There they met for the first time. In order to reveal Nityananda Prabhu's glories to his associates, he had Śrīvāsa Pandit recite a verse from Śrīmad Bhagavatam. Barha pidam natavara vapu karnayo karnikaram vibradvasa kanakakapisham vaijayantim chamalam randhran venor adarasudaya purayan gopa vrindar vrindaranyam swapadaramanam pravishar gita kirti. Krishna was dressed as a dancing performer, ornamented with a peacock feather on his top knot, kanikar flowers on his ears, wearing a yellow garment as brilliant as gold, and a Vaijayanti garland around his neck. He entered the forest of Vrindavan, the pleasure garden of his auspiciously marked feet, while filling the holes of his flute with the nectar of his lips. The cowherd boys began to sing his glories. At Śrīmad Bhagavatam 10:21-5. As soon as Nityananda Prabhu heard the verse, he fainted, and the 8 ecstatic symptoms appeared on his body. Vishvambar clasped Nityananda Prabhu to his bosom. A few days later, Mahaprabhu indicated that he wished Nityananda Prabhu to perform the Vyas Puja ceremony, so preparations were made for this ritual to be held at Śrīvāsa Pandit's house. On the eve of the ceremony, when the Adivas Kirtan was being sung, Mahaprabhu himself was possessed by the spirit of Baladev, thus revealing Nityananda Prabhu's identity with Balaram. Then he called out Advaita Acharya's name, Nara, Nara, revealing how Advaita Acharya made him descend by his power, by his prayers. Nara means one who makes something move. Interesting. On the following day, Śrīvāsa Pandit took the role of the ceremony's Acharya. After completing the puja, he placed a flower garland in Nityananda Prabhu's hand and told him to offer it to Vyasadeva while chanting the appropriate mantras. Nityananda Prabhu, however, put the garland around Mahaprabhu's neck. Mahaprabhu immediately gave Nityananda Prabhu a vision of a six-armed form. At the end of the Vyas Puja, Mahaprabhu ordered the devotees to sing the holy names. Later, he asked Śrīvāsa Pandit for the prasad of Vyasadeva, which he personally distributed to all the devotees, as well as to Śrīvāsa Pandit's servants. Everyone ate the offerings with great pleasure. When Mahaprabhu saw Śrīvāsa Pandit's devotion to Nityananda Prabhu, he blessed him, saying that there would never be any poverty in his house, and that even the dogs and cats in his house would have steady devotion to the Lord. Kirtan at Śrīvāsangan. When Mahaprabhu desired to begin his Sankirtan pastimes, he held them in the house of Śrīvāsa Pandit with only his intimate associates present. When the Kirtan began on an Akadashi, Mahaprabhu revealed many transformations of ecstatic love as soon as the chanting began. Shri Hari Vasare Hari Kirtana Vidana Nritta Arambila Prabhu Jagatera Prana Punyavanta Śrīvāsayangane Shubharamba Uttila Kirtana Dvani Gopala Govinda. The scriptural injunction is that one should engage in Hari Kirtan on Akadashi, also known as Hari Vasar. That evening, Mahaprabhu, the life of the world, began to dance. This auspicious beginning of the Sankirtan movement took place in the pious Śrīvāsa Pandit's courtyard, where the sound of Krishna's names of Gopal and Govinda rose to the sky. That's Caitanya Bhagavat, Adi Kanda, chapter 8, verse 138. Mahaprabhu ordered that the doors should remain closed, and the wicked and hard-hearted persons who were refused entry began to criticize Mahaprabhu and his devotees. Mahaprabhu's followers ignored their insults and continued to ecstatically sing the holy names. Just as the long night of the Ras Lila seems to the gopis to last only a few moments, the nights of Kirtan at Śrīvāsa Pandit's house seemed brief to Mahaprabhu and his followers. At the end of one such night, Mahaprabhu placed all the Shaligram Shilas on his lap and sat down on the altar, where he revealed his divine nature in a wonderful form and accepted all the food offerings given to him by his devotees. On another occasion, Mahaprabhu exhibited Mahaprakash Lila, the pastime of the great Epiphany at Śrīvāsangan. This is recounted in chapter 9 of Caitanya Bhagavat's Madhya Kanda. On that occasion, he withdrew his devotional mood. He stopped all his divine trances and openly revealed his divinity, sitting on Vishnu's throne for 21 hours. At his signal, the devotees performed the Abhishek ceremony reserved for the King of Kings, according to scriptural regulations. The devotees made their offerings of flowers and gifts, and Mahaprabhu stretched out his feet and accepted them without artifice. He then gave all present a blessing, fulfilling their personal desires. In the course of this 21-hour Mahaprakash Lila, Mahaprabhu appeared in the forms of all the previous avatars. One evening, Śrīvāsa's mother-in-law hid in a corner of the courtyard from where she hoped to be able to see the Lord's Sankirtan pastimes. Being the indweller of all beings, the Lord was aware of her presence and kept on repeating to his companions that on that day he felt no joy in the singing of the holy name. This was very disquieting to the devotees. Is that right? Yeah, disquieting to the devotees, who, suspecting that some outsider must be hiding there, started to search through the house. When Śrīvāsa Pandit found his mother-in-law, he was mortified, and taking her by the hair, laid her on the courtyard. He led her out of the courtyard. Only those who have received the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu have the right to witness his pastimes. On another occasion, a certain brahmachari who subsisted on milk alone asked Śrīvāsa Pandit for permission to see Mahaprabhu's kirtan. Śrīvāsa Pandit knew that he was sattvic in his habits, and so he invited him in. Śrīvāsa Pandit had the brahmachari hide inside the house, but Mahaprabhu, the indweller of all beings, was well aware of what was taking place. He said, "I don't know what is wrong with the kirtan today. I am feeling no pleasure in it. I think that there must be an outsider here somewhere." Śrīvāsa Pandit became afraid and said, "A brahmachari who only takes milk asked if he could watch you dance. He was so eager, and I knew him to be austere, so I let him in." Mahaprabhu became angry and answered, "One cannot attain devotion to Krishna without surrendering to him, and certainly not by drinking a milk diet and engaging in the other superficial activities. Make him leave." The Brahmin fearfully left the house, but still asked if he could have a partial look at the Lord. The most merciful Lord called him to his side and placed his lotus feet on his head, telling him not to make a show of his austere practices out of pride. When Mahaprabhu put on a play about his Vrindavan pastimes at Chandrasekhar's house in Mayapur, Śrīvāsa Pandit played the part of Narad Muni. Advaita Acharya took on the role of the clown, or the Vidushak, and Haridas Thakur played the police officer. Mahaprabhu himself first played Rukmini, and then the Adya Shakti, while Nityananda Prabhu played the part of an old woman. The Lord again sat on the altar in the mood of the goddess of fortune Lakshmi Devi. As the mother of the universe and in a spirit of affection for his devotees, he fed them breast milk. Offenses to Śrīvāsa. Mahaprabhu's kirtans went on at Śrīvāsa Pandit's house with the doors locked every night for a full year. During this time, many non-devotee Brahmins tried to make fun of Mahaprabhu and his associates. Several of these non-devotees became envious because they were unable to see what was going on and insulted the devotees. One of them was a Bhattacharya Brahman named Gopala Chapal, who decided to destroy Śrīvāsa Pandit's reputation by placing a plate of offerings intended for Kali on his doorstep. These included liquor and meat, red hibiscus flowers, and red sandalwood. In the morning, when Śrīvāsa Pandit opened the door, he saw these items and started to laugh. He loudly proclaimed, "Look, everyone, I am a Shakta. I have been worshipping the goddess all night long." His better-behaved neighbors were pained to see what had taken place, and they removed the offending items and purified the doorstep with cow dung. As a result of this offense to Śrīvāsa Pandit, Gopal Chapal was afflicted with leprosy. One day, when Mahaprabhu came to the banks of the Ganges to bathe, Gopal Chapal approached him and prayed to be freed from his disease. Mahaprabhu angrily answered him, "O sinner, envious of the devotees, I will not save you. I will have you eaten by worms like this for 1,000,000 births. You made it seem as though Śrīvāsa Pandit had worshipped Kali, so you will dwell for 1,000,000 lifetimes in the hell known as Raurava." That was Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila 17, verses 51 to 52. When Mahaprabhu had taken sannyas, he came once to Kulia, the site where offenses are forgiven. Kulia is the present-day town of Navadvip, also known as Koladvip. This time, when Gopal Chapal begged him again to be forgiven, Mahaprabhu was compassionate and told him to ask forgiveness of Śrīvāsa Pandit. One must ask forgiveness of the very devotee he has offended if one wishes to be freed from offense. When Śrīvāsa forgave Gopal Chapal, he was liberated from the effects of his offense. The unfortunate Devananda Pandit, though a great lecturer in the Srimad Bhagavatam, was devoid of devotion. One day, Śrīvāsa Pandit went to listen to him lecture, and, being a great devotee, was deeply affected by the Bhagavat's verses, and tears started to flow from his eyes in the midst of the assembly. Devananda Pandit's students, who were all Pashandis, they forcibly dragged Śrīvāsa Pandit outside for disturbing the audience. Even though he saw his students acting in this way, Devananda Pandit did nothing to stop them. Thus, he too became an offender to a Vaishnav. Mahaprabhu later roundly rebuked Devananda Pandit for his inaction on this occasion. Later on, Devananda Pandit had the good fortune to come into the association of Vakreshwar Pandit, who taught him Caitanya Mahaprabhu's true identity. He thus became sorry for the offense he had committed and received Mahaprabhu's mercy. According to Gaur Ganadashtipika, Devananda is Nanda Maharaja's court Pandit Bhaguri Muni in Vrajalila. The Qazi tries to break up the kirtan. In the mood of Amani Manada, one who does not ask for any respect for himself, but always gives respect to others, Mahaprabhu would embrace everyone with a great urge, Mahaprabhu would embrace everyone and, with a great urge, beg them to chant the names of the Lord. These followers would then engage in a loud chanting of the holy names and the accompaniment of mridanga and conch shells. Materialistic persons considered them to be nothing other than musicians and dancers who were worshipping Mahamaya in the wrong way, and would insult them with various blasphemous statements. One day, the local magistrate, or Qazi, known as Sirajuddin Chandakazi, was walking by and saw the scene. Hearing the loud noise of the kirtan, he became irritated and angry. He went to Śrīvāsa Pandit's house and broke the mridanga and had some of the devotees beaten as a warning. He said, "If anyone does this sankirtan again, he will be punished even more severely." This brought great satisfaction to all the non-devotees of the town, and they joyfully continued to mock the devotees. When Mahaprabhu received word of the incident, he became very angry. He ordered the devotees to take torches and musical instruments and join him fearlessly for Sankirtan. He divided the devotees into several groups and then led the procession along the banks of the Ganges, himself dancing at its lead. Thousands of men, women, and children put aside their housework to join him and follow the Sankirtan procession. When the miscreants heard the sounds of the kirtan, their hearts began to tremble. Meanwhile, when Chandakazi heard that thousands of Hindus were approaching his house, he ran inside, trembling with fear. Upon his arrival, Mahaprabhu asked some respectable persons from the neighborhood to kindly inform the Qazi that he was there and that he meant no harm. When the Qazi heard the polite way in which Mahaprabhu had addressed him, he was attracted and came outside. He addressed Mahaprabhu as nephew, since, by village relationship, he was Nilambar Cakravartī's brother. After a few moments of cordial conversation, the Qazi recounted the following story. "The night after I broke the mridanga, I had a dream in which I saw a most frightening figure, half man, half lion. He came and sat on my chest and threatened to rend it asunder in the way that I had broken the drum. When he saw how afraid I was, he calmed me down and told me that he would forgive me if I promised never to interfere with kirtan again." Chand Kazi then showed the scratch marks that had been imprinted on his chest by Nrsingadev's claws. He then promised that neither he nor anyone from his family would ever stop Sankirtan again. He also became Mahaprabhu's devotee. The tomb of Chand Kazi is in Brahman Pushkarini, the present-day Brahman Pukur, by which stands a very old Goloka Champa tree. Both Hindus and Muslims offer their respects to the tomb of the Chand Kazi. I'm going to read this and then I'll much more is left? Okay, there's just these 3 little sections. Let's just read it all. More kirtan pastimes at Śrīvāsa Angan. After a night of kirtan at Śrīvāsa Pandit's house, when Mahaprabhu returns to external awareness, he would go with all the devotees to bathe in the Ganges. Sometimes the devotees would ceremonially bathe the Lord at Śrīvāsa Angan. One of Śrīvāsa Pandit's servant girls, named Duki, would watch Mahaprabhu's ecstatic dancing with tears in her eyes. She also performs the service of filling jugs of water from the Ganges for Mahaprabhu's morning bath. Mahaprabhu observed her devotion and was pleased. He changed her name from Duki, unhappy, to Sukhi, happy. One day, Śrīvāsa Pandit's only son died as kirtan was being performed in his house. Śrīvāsa Pandit was afraid that the sounds of mourning from the women's quarters would disturb Mahaprabhu while he was engaged in singing the holy names. So he swiftly went inside the house and tried to quiet the women by explaining spiritual truths to them. When they still didn't stop their loud lamentations, Śrīvāsa Pandit threatened to throw himself into the river and drown if they didn't stop making noise. This had the desired result. Mahaprabhu performed kirtan until late night and later said, "Something doesn't seem right. Has some tragedy taken place in the Pandit's house?" Śrīvāsa Pandit answered, "How can anything be wrong when I have your smiling face in my home?" However, some of the other devotees said, "Prabhu, Śrīvāsa Pandit's only son died in the evening, about an hour after sunset." Mahaprabhu asked, "Why did no one say anything before now?" The devotees answered, "Lord, Śrīvāsa Pandit told us not to because he was afraid it would interfere with your pleasure in kirtan." Mahaprabhu said, "How could I ever abandon devotees who love me to this extent?" and started to shed tears. After this, Mahaprabhu went inside and beside the child's dead body. He went inside and sat beside the child's dead body and brought him back to consciousness. He asked, "Child, why do you want to leave the house of such a devotee as Śrīvāsa?" The dead child answered, The few days that I was to spend in Śrīvāsa Pandit's house are over. Now I am following your wish in going elsewhere. I am a living being without independence. I cannot go against your wishes. Please be merciful to me that I will never forget your lotus feet wherever I go." When Śrīvāsa Pandit's family members heard the child speak in such wisdom, they immediately forgot their distress and stopped mourning. Prabhu said to Śrīvāsa Pandit, "From this day on, Nityananda Prabhu and I will be your sons. We will never leave you." Śrīvāsa Pandit's visits to Puri. After Mahaprabhu had taken sannyas and was living in Puri, Śrīvāsa Pandit would come with the other devotees each year to stay with him for the 4 months of the rainy season. Advaita, Nityananda Prabhu, Mukunda Datta, Śrīvāsa Pandit, Vidyanidhi, Vasudev Datta, Murari Gupta, and all of Mahaprabhu's other devoted servants met with him in Puri every year and stayed 4 months. Mahaprabhu engaged in various pastimes in their company. That's Caitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, chapter 9, verses 255 to 256. Śrīvāsa Pandit was a participant with Mahaprabhu in his pastimes of cleansing the Gundicha temple and Ratha Yatra. He was the principal singer in the second kirtan group, or sampradaya, whose chief dancer was Nityananda Prabhu himself. Sri Swarup Damodar was the lead singer, and Advaita Acharya the dancer in the first kirtan group. In the third, Mukunda Datta was the principal singer, while Haridas Thakur danced. Govinda Ghosh, the lead singer in the fourth, with Virkeshwar Pandit dancing. The fifth sampradaya came from the village of Kulina, and Ramananda Rai and Satyaraj were its principal dancers. The sixth group, in which Achyutananda danced, was from Shantipur. The seventh group was composed of the residents of Sri Khanda, of whom Narahari and Raghunandan took the lead roles. When Mahaprabhu wished to dance, all the seven groups came together. On one such occasion, King Prataparudra was watching Mahaprabhu's energetic dancing while leaning on his servant Harichandan's shoulder. In the meantime, Śrīvāsa Pandit came and stood in front of Harichandan to watch Mahaprabhu dance. The king's servant kept pushing the deeply absorbed Śrīvāsa Pandit, telling him to move so that the king could see. Śrīvāsa Pandit became irritated at the repeated disturbance and finally turned around and slapped Harichandan. Harichandan became angry and was about to hit him back when the king stopped him, telling him how fortunate he was to have been touched by the hand of a devotee such as Śrīvāsa Pandit. One day, Śrīvāsa Pandit and the other devotees, led by Adharu, were joyfully glorifying Mahaprabhu's name, form, qualities, and activities in Puri. Mahaprabhu became angry and left the scene, but later accepted defeat and acquiesced to their desire to glorify him. Śrīvāsa Pandit moves to Kumarhat. After Mahaprabhu took sannyas in Katwa, Śrīvāsa Pandit found it impossible to remain in Navadvip, where everything was full of painful reminders of the Lord. He and his brothers moved to Kumarhat in Hali Shahar, the birthplace of Ishwar Puri. Even so, Śrīvāsa Pandit and his brothers made annual trips from Kumarhat to Nilachal to see Mahaprabhu and to Mayapur to visit Shachimata. On one occasion, Mahaprabhu came to his guru's birthplace and showed his respects by taking some dust and wrapping it in his cloth. After that, pilgrims went to that place and they took the dust from there with great veneration. Consequently, a pool, a doba, was created, which is famous as Caitanya Doba. I went there one time with Tridandi Maharaj and Śrīvāsa and Chandrasekhar. Śrīvāsa Pandit's house is very close to Caitanya Doba. Mahaprabhu visited the house of Śrīvāsa Pandit along with his associates on that occasion. All the members of the household joyfully received him and his companions. They received him and his companions and became absorbed in their service. Mahaprabhu noticed this and said to Śrīvāsa Pandit, "You are a householder with a large family. You have to earn money in order to maintain your family. Otherwise, how will you be able to do so?" Śrīvāsa Pandit first replied that he had no wish to make money, and then clapped his hand 3 times. Mahaprabhu asked him what he meant by clapping his hands, and Śrīvāsa Pandit answered, "I will fast 1, 2, 3 days, and then, if I still get nothing to eat, I will tie a jug to my neck and jump in the Ganges." Mahaprabhu responded to Śrīvāsa Pandit's statement by giving a roar and repeated the blessing that he had given before in Navadvip. "Even if the goddess of fortune has to go begging, you will never have any poverty in your home. Lord Krishna himself provides everything that his exclusive devotees need." Śrīvāsa Pandit's appearance day is the 8th day of the waning moon, the Krishna Ashtami, in the month of Chaitra, and his disappearance day is celebrated on the 10th day of the waning moon, Krishna Dashami, in Ashad. Jai Śrīvāsa Pandit ki Jai. Okay, now I didn't want to skip over Śrīvāsa Pandit and not give him honor like Devananda Pandit. So now we can we will begin. We'll just begin because we only have 10 minutes to read. We will begin the 11th Canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. The Sārārtha-darśīni commentary by Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Thakur, translated by Bhakti. But before I start, I just want to look at the comments. Haribo, Raseshwari Mataji, Gargarajji. Is it your internet? I haven't gotten any. Oops, that's an important message. Can I just do something really quick? There, okay. Okay, so let's begin. Canto 11. Chapter 1. The prelude to the destruction of the Yadus. I don't like this font. Let me change the font. Oh, does it not change? No, the font doesn't change. Oh well, we're just gonna have to live with this font then. Shri Shuka Uvacha Kritva Daitya Vadam Krishna Saramo Yadubhir Vrita Bhuvo Vatarayar Bharam Javishtam Janayam Kalim. Translation. Shukadev Goswami said, Lord Krishna, accompanied by Balaram and surrounded by the Yadu dynasty, killed many demons. Then, producing a quarrel, he quickly relieves the earth of its burden. So now we commence the Sārārtha-darśīni commentary of the 11th Canto by Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Thakur. I offer respects to Sri Krishna Caitanya. I take shelter of the Lord I take shelter of the Lord of Govardhan, the supporter of the earth which nourishes the cows, and to the Govardhan mountain. Offering respects to Guru and Krishna, the ocean of mercy, I take shelter of Shukadev, master of the world, eye of the universe. I offer myself and everything I possess to He who is the life of the gopis, their controller, for the service to for service to his dear devotees. One chapter begins to describe Krishna's disappearance. 4 chapters deal with the Navayogendras. 1 chapter describes the curse of the sages and the prayers of the devatas. 23 chapters are dedicated to Krishna's teachings to Uddhav. 1 chapter describes the destruction of the Yadu dynasty, and 1 chapter describes Krishna's disappearance. Oh, what a wonderful summary of the 11th Canto. Thus, in 31 chapters of the 11th Canto, the subject of liberation previously mentioned is described. In the first chapter, thinking of how to destroy the Yadu dynasty, the Lord arranged for Brahmins to curse them, and the iron ball became reeds. In the 10th Canto, Krishna, the 10th subject Ashray, in the 10th Canto, the 10th subject of Ashray, Swayam Bhagavan, who satisfies and astonishes his devotees with his variegated sweet pastimes, was described. In the 11th Canto, liberation, which takes shelter of the lotus feet, is described. And to relate a little of the remaining pastimes, the previous pastimes are again mentioned in this verse. The augment on the word avatarayat is absent as poetic license. Javishtam means most quickly. The quarrel refers to the dissension between the Kurus and the Pandavas. Ye kopitasu bahu pandu, no. Ye kopitasu bahu pandu suta sampatnar, durtyuta helena kachagrahana divistan, kritva nimittam itare tarata sametam, hatva nripam niraharat kshitibharamisha. Sorry, I messed up with that. The Supreme Lord made the Pandavas, enraged by the numerous offenses of their enemies, such as the duplicitous gambling, verbal insults, the seizing of Draupadi's hair, which was the immediate cause, and then, let me reread this. The Supreme Lord made the Pandavas enraged by they made the Pandavas, who were enraged by the numerous offenses of their enemies, such as the duplicitous gambling, verbal insults, the seizing of Draupadi's hair, the immediate cause, and then had all the assembled kings kill each other, thus relieving the earth of its burden. Commentary. This verse describes the quarrel. The Lord made Arjuna and others enraged greatly, Subahu, by the unfair gambling match and other incidents. He made this the cause, and then had the assembled kings kill each other, and thus removed the burden of the earth. Bhubara Raja Pritana Yadubir Nirasya Guptai Swabahubir Achintayara Prameya Manye Vaner Nanugato Pyagatam Hi Bharam Yadyadavam Kulamaho Avishahyamaste. After using the Yadu dynasty, which was protected by his arms, to eliminate the kings who with their armies had been the burden of this earth, the unfathomable Lord thought, although the earth's burden is now gone, in my opinion it is not yet gone, because there still remains the intolerable burden of the Yadu dynasty itself. Commentary. Who were the Yadus? They were protected by the strength of the Lord's own arms. He then began to think, but because it is not possible to understand his thoughts at that time, he is described as aprameya, unfathomable. Nanu indicates a conjecture. I think that though, from the commoner's perception, the burden is gone, the burden is not gone. Why? Though the Yadavas have the highest dharma, they are also a form of burden. This is explained in the first canto, chapter 15. Naivanyata paribhavosya bhavet kataschin matsamshayasya vibhavo nahanasya nityam antakalim yadukulasya vidhaya venu stambasya varnimiva shantem upayami dhama. They cannot at all be by anyone else, since they have unrestricted power, having taken constant shelter of me. Making a quarrel within the Yadu family like a fire in a bamboo grove, and thus destroying them, I will then attain my abode. Commentary. Should relieving the earth be undertaken by someone else? The answer is given. They cannot even be censured by anyone else, what to speak of being killed. They have taken shelter of me and have unrestricted power. Arranging for them to go to Prabhas and having them quarrel, I will arrange for their destruction and then attain Vaikuntha. I will go to Vaikuntha in my portion as my form of Narayan, which merged into Krishna when he appeared on earth. Just as a wind causes fire by friction of bamboos and destroys them, just as a wind causes fire by friction of bamboos, destroys them, and then disappears, I will arrange for friction among the Yadus, destroy them, and then disappear. Evam vyavasito rajan satya sankalpa ishvara shapa vyajena vipranam sanjahre svakulam vibhu. Evam vyavasito rajan sankalpa ishvara shapa vyajena vipranam sanjahre svakulam vibhu. I'm pretty sure it's sanjahre instead of shastrahe. We can check it later though. O king, when the powerful Lord, whose desire always comes true, had thus decided, he withdrew his family from the earth on the pretext of a curse spoken by an assembly of Brahmins. Commentary. Making up his mind in this way, on the pretext of a Brahmin's curse, he withdrew his family. One purpose of this arrangement was to show the great powers of Brahmanas. Swamurtya lokalavanya nirmuktya lochanam nrinam girbista smaratam chittam padaistan ikshitam kriya achidya kirtim sushlokam vitatya yashad yanjasa nuko tamonaya tarishyanti tyagat swam padamishvaram. Translation. Having stolen people's eyes with my form, which makes them reject all other beauty, having stolen their voices and ears by my words, having stolen their minds, and having stolen their movements of their bodies by the markings of my footprints, and having distributed my glories, which are praised by poets, people of the future will be delivered from samsara by these glories. Thinking in this way, the Lord made up his mind. I think I'll end with this commentary. Having accomplished the mission of his descent on earth, he then disappeared. He stole the eyes of everyone by his form, which made them give up all other beauty. When people looked at other things, their sight did not function. In this way, he stole their eyes. He stole the voice of everyone by his words. By his words, he stole their voices and their ears as well, since those without voices were also devoid of ears, since they had to hear his words alone. He stole the hearts of all persons who remember. Similarly, he attracted the movements such as walking of those who saw the marks on his footprints. Having accomplished this, he became absorbed in his decision. Krishna, having appeared, having attracted the senses of all people, he made them blind, deaf, mute, mad, and paralyzed. Who can call him merciful? He is the greatest thief. This is a form of Vyajastuti, criticism indicating praise. But actually, he gave liberation to the demons after killing them, and to others he drowned them in the ocean of his beauty and gave them prema. No one else had such unrestricted mercy. After having spread his glories, which poets praise, people who will be born on earth in the future will easily cross the ocean of samsara by that glory, like a boat. Considering in that way, he made up his mind. This indicates his mercy to the people of the future. Swang Padam means he became absorbed in his decision. According to the Amarkosh dictionary, Padam can mean decision, deliverance, place, wealth, feat, and object. After accomplishing my purpose in 125 years, now I will become invisible from the material world. He came to that decision. It is not possible for this to mean he went to Vaikuntha with all his portions. That is because in the previous it was stated that Krishna eternally performs pastimes in Vrindavan, Mathura, and Dwarka, and this is supported by Shruti and Smriti statements. The statements of Uddhav comparing Krishna to the sun and fire confirm the fact that Krishna never gives up his three abodes. Krishna Dyumani Nimloche Gir Neshvajagarena Kim nu na kushalam buru gatta shrishu griheshvaham. Since Krishna has disappeared like the sun, how can I describe the condition of us, his friends, devoid of splendor, whose houses have been swallowed by the snake of lamentation? Swashanta rupeshvitarai swarupar abhyardhyamanesh vanukampitatma paravaresho Mahārāja yukta yajo pijato bhagavan yatagni. Being compassionate in mind, when his devotees are afflicted by the demons, Swayam Bhagavan Krishna, though not having material birth, and who is like fire, appears within this world along with all his Vishnu expansions, since he is the Lord of all forms of God and Devatas. Okay, so we'll end here. Tomorrow we will begin. Parikshit said, how could the Brahmins curse the Vishnus, who are always respectful to the Brahmins, who are charitable, and who are inclined to serve seniors, and whose minds were always absorbed in Krishna? So we'll hear the answer to that question tomorrow. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Oh, Hari Bol, Ujjwala Pradal Mataji. Hare Krishna. Jai Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Juki Jai Shri Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan Juki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosvāmī Mahārāja Shila Guru Deva Ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosvāmī Mahārāja Ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishtam Sorry Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitya Pravishta Mahabhagavat Srila Gorkshara Swabaji Maharaj Ki Jai Nitya Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Ṭhākura Ki Jai Nitya Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Rupa Gaudiya Guru Varga Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhattadas Raghunath Sharda Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai नाम आचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जाए प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जाए श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुर वृंदावन धाम की जाए सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदाता गिरिराज महाराज की जाए श्री राधा कुंज श्याम कुंज यमुना गंगा तुलसी भक्ति देवी की जाए श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जाए अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जाए Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, 11th Canto Ki Jai, Śrīla Viśvanātha Chakravartī Ṭhākura Ki Jai, Sārārtha-darśīni Vritti Ki Jai, Śrīvāsa Pandit Ki Jai, Tadiya Shubha Avirbhav Titi Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Dandavat pranams, everybody. There's two songs about Śrīvāsa Pandit. Actually, one second. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashja Krishna Bhakti Padadevi Satyavadaya Namo Namo Vancha Kalpatarubhyashta Kripa Sindhubhyai Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams, everybody. So for all of those who want to go, you can. It's I'm way over time now, but for anybody who wants to stay, I'm going to just sing two songs by I'm going to sing two songs about Śrīvāsa Pandit. One is Sapta Dvipa Dipta Kori, and the other is the Śrīvāsa Ashtakam. So, one second, let me just share my screen again. Hari Bol Rukmini Didi. Hari Hari Bol. Okay, you will watch back in Hawaii. Okay, Hari Hari Prabhu, thank you for letting me know. Okay, I'm gonna start singing now. Let me just find the song. I sent it out on the Gaudiya Kirtan mailing list, so it should be here. No, yeah, it's right there. Oops. Here it is. Here, let's view this in a browser that way. And this is the Which one should we sing first? Let's do the Bengali kirtan first. This is written by Prem Das. Illuminating the 7 islands of the world, Sri Navadip Puri shines due to the presence of that king among gods, Sri Vishvambar. There, in the midst of Sri Vishvambar's devotees, is the renowned Śrīvāsa Pandit. All glories to Pandit Ṭhākura. By a speck of his mercy, one can become a recipient of Gaura Prem. All of his pastimes are matchless. Exclusively fixed in the service of Sri Gauranga, he does not know any demigod or goddess. Along with his 4 brothers, servants, and maidservants, he always revels in kirtan, day and night, with Gauranga and his devotees, intoxicated by prem. His wife Sri Malini Devi, whom Mahaprabhu calls mother, is the crown jewel of all chaste women. Nityananda Prabhu resides in their house, and she loves him as her own son. When she sees Nityananda Prabhu, milk flows from her breasts, and tears fall from her eyes. Sometimes, knowing Mahaprabhu to be the Supreme Lord, Śrīvāsa Pandit bows down at his lotus, but sometimes he takes him on his lap to nourish him. In order to not interrupt the ecstatic dance of Mahaprabhu, he renounced any expression of sorrow at the death of his son. Hearing this, the Lord wept. Śrīvāsa Pandit's niece, Narayani, was the voice of the Vaishnava assembly. Her son, Sri Vrindavan Das, described Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leelas and thus delivered the 3 worlds. It is in him, in Śrīvāsa Pandit, that Prem Das keeps his hopes and aspirations. So we'll just sing this together. One second, let me just... Should I show the Bengali also? I'll do that. Okay. Sapta dvipa dipa kuri Shobhe nava dvipa puri Ajahe Viśvanātha deva Raj Tahe tar bhakta jato Tahate Śrīvāsa khyata Shri Krishna kirtana jarkaj Jaya Jaya Ṭhākura Pandita Ajar Kripalesha Matra Hoya Gaura Prema Patra Anupama Sakala Charita Jaya Jaya Ṭhākura Pandita Gaurangera Seva Bine Deva Devi Nahi Jane Achari Bhai Dasa Dasi Loya Satata Kirtana Range Gora Gora Bhakta Sange Arnishi Prema Mata Hoya Jara Bharya Shrimalini Pati Prata Shiromani Jare Prabhu Kohoye Janani Nityananda Rahe Khare Putra Sama Sneha Kore Stana Jare Netre Bahe Pani Kabo Vaishvara Gyane Nati Kori Shri Charane Kabo Kole Koro Ye Lala Na Prabhu Nrita Bangalagi Mrita Putra Shoka Tyagi Ashuni Prabhu Koro Yero Dana Bratri Sutta Narayani Vaishnava Mandale Dvani Ajar Putra Vrindavana Dasa Varniya Caitanya Lila Tribhuvana Udharila Prema Dasa Kore Jar Asha Prema Dasa Kore Jar Asha Jaya Śrīvāsa Pandit Prabhu Śrīvāsa Pandit Śrīvāsa Pandit Prabhu Śrīvāsa Pandit yeah, sorry. Oh God, it's so difficult for me to sing right now after being sick for this whole time. But okay. There's this one last, the Śrīvāsa Ṭhākura, which I found in the Gaudiya Stotra Ratnamala, which is published by Śrīla Bhaktivedanta Vaman Gosvāmī Mahārāja. I don't, but there's no author given. So. With great delight, I take shelter of Sri Śrīvāsa, the original Pandit. He wears white garments and possesses a golden complexion. It is he who grants devotion to Sri Gaur. The kirtan Sri Gaur performed during his pastimes in Navadvip is Śrīvāsa's wealth, for he is prominently celebrated. He is my refuge. Śrīvāsa was so absorbed in the bliss of Gauranga's kirtan that even the death of his son could not touch him. Time and again I that king of devotees. At first he lived in Srihata, and later he came to dwell in Kumarhata on the banks of the Bhagirathi and took shelter of Sri Gaurasundar. That Śrīvāsa is my goal and refuge. I venerate the eminent and saintly Śrīvāsa, whose brothers Sri Ram, Sri Pati, and Sri Nidhi are exalted among saintly personalities. He who in previous ages was Narad and flooded the universe with the ambrosia of the holy names of Hari is now, in the modern age, Śrīvāsa. He is my refuge. I take shelter in Śrīvāsa Prabhu, whose wife Malini Devi satisfies Sri Gauranga with the meals she cooks with her own hands. Just like him, just like Śrīvāsa Ṭhākura, his wife Malini's sole refuge is Sri. This is well known throughout the land of Gauda. With utmost regard, I offer thousands of obeisances unto those lotus feet. He is exceptionally dear to Sri Caitanya. I venerate Śrīvāsa Pandit. A merciful glance from him awakens love and attachment for Sri Gauranga. Have I been sharing my screen this whole time? Thank God I have been. Yes. Okay. Ashrayami Shri Śrīvāsam Tamadhyam Panditam Muda Shuklam Bara Dharam Goram Gora Bhakti Pradayakam Shri Gorasya Navadipa Lila Kirtana Sampadi Ya Pradantaya Ya Pradhanataya Khyata Sa Śrīvāsa Gatir Mama Shri Gora Kirtananande Putra Shokopina Sprishat Yam Śrīvāsam Bhakta Rajam Tang Namami Puna Puna Adovasastu Shri Hare Bhagiratastate Tata Kumara Hate Yasyasit Same Gora Gatir Gati Shri Rama Shri Patis Jaiva Shri Nidishcheti Satama Śrīvāsa Ṭhākura Śrīvāsam Nomi Sarvaram Puranaradarupena Harinama Sudha Jarai Yo Jagat Yo Jagat Plavayamasa Sa Śrīvāsa Dhunokati Yat Patni Malini Devi Shri Gauranga Mato Shayat Swahasta Pakvar Anatyai Sa Śrīvāsa Gatir Mama Pativad Gauranga Gatir Malini Koravishruta Tat Pada Parmasavide Pranatir Mesahasrasha Shri Caitanya Priyatamam Vande Śrīvāsa Panditam Yat Karunya Katakshena Shri Gaurangiratir Bhave Jaya Gaura Śrīvāsa Gaura Śrīvāsa Gaura Śrīvāsa Jaya Gaura Śrīvāsa Jaya Gaura Śrīvāsa Gaura Śrīvāsa Gaura Śrīvāsa Jaya Gaura Śrīvāsa Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol. All right, thank you so much for singing those two kirtans with me. And I'll see you all tomorrow for the 11th Canto. We will hear the answer to Parikshit Mahāraja's question. Why do they all kill each other? All right. Hari Bol, everybody. Rukmini Didi and Prajumna Prabhu, Mantramurti Mataji, everybody else watching. Hari Bol, everybody. Hare Krishna. Yeah, these are nice kirtans, weren't they? All right, Hari Bol, everybody.